Hello and welcome to today's episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute delight and privilege to be joined by the fabulous Robert Heath Sr. Robert, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, I am so looking forward to this conversation. And as we established a few minutes ago in the green room, we could get stuck into a conversation quite quickly. So before we do that, let me share with the audience a little bit more about you. So Robert is an award-winning leadership strategist, an executive coach, and a keynote speaker who helps high-capacity leaders align with their purpose, communicate courageously, and lead with lasting impact. A former US Marine Corps officer and the founder of the Legacy Leadership Consulting Group, Robert has guided thousands from Fortune 500 executives to startup founders through transformative breakthroughs in performance and leadership. With a background spanning law, education, and entrepreneurship, he blends disciplined execution with human-centered insights to empower leaders to thrive in chaos and build legacies that last. I mean, Robert, where to start? I mean, we've got the Marines, we've got law, we've got education, we've got strategy. Could you perhaps bring that all to life a little bit for us, please?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. And yes, some people, I consider myself a career renaissance man. Some people may say that I have career ADD. I will let you be the judge. But I think to go back to where it all started, it starts with a fundamental belief of mine that everybody is here for a purpose, that everybody has greatness within them. And from being a young child, one of the things that I always wanted to do is to help people to be their best. I was a helper growing up, and I was always someone who was trying to bring out the best in others. And so there are a number of different routes that I went to do that. The first, of course, I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, and then my father was in the Army, so we lived in a lot of different places. But I saw that there were different worlds that I got to experience versus what a lot of my friends in the city and a lot of my family in the city got to experience. And so very early on, I learned that education was a way to explore and to experience different things. So I became a teacher to help and fix those problems. And so that's where the education side of it comes from. I got my master's degree in teaching. I taught for 6 years, and I was on the pathway actually to be a superintendent. That was my goal, to go and fix educational systems in urban centers. And I was teaching in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was a school improvement team coordinator. I was a union rep. I was a basketball coach. I was doing all of the things, and I actually got to see someone who was living what I felt like my dream was, maybe 20 years in the future. She was originally from Memphis. She had gone out to the Eastern United States in Massachusetts and gotten, her degrees and worked on school boards and been a superintendent out there. And she came back to work on the school system that she was from, to kind of come home and fix home, which was exactly what I wanted to do, right? And something amazing happened that really shook me to my core, because while I was excited about the programs that she was bringing forward, and again, I became school improvement team coordinator, I gave up my summer to do in-services and to learn and to prepare for this. What I saw over the next 18 months really let me know that I didn't know and didn't understand enough about this. And what I saw was, 18 months later, she was gone. And it wasn't because she had done something nefarious or had slept with the wrong person or had stolen money or any of the things that you normally see people get fired for, right? She actually left because she couldn't galvanize the group to go in the direction that she wanted the board to go. And the opposition to what she was trying to do was so strong that she wound up leaving the district. And I realized that was me in 20 years if I didn't figure out how to overcome this obstacle that she was dealing with. And what I learned later and what I understood was that I thought that I understood leadership. I thought that I understood, moving a group of people, right? I had coached basketball. I had taught, 200 students a year, right? But there's a different level of leadership that's necessary when you want to make tremendous impact. And I knew that I wasn't prepared for that. And so the other kind of parts of my career come from that sense and that knowing of, I need to get better at this. I need to understand this more. And so I went to two different places. One, I went to law school because I wanted to understand how society works at its core. What are the systems that govern us, and how do we make decisions? How do we make laws? How do we say what's right and what's wrong? How do we agree on that? And so law school really helped me to understand how we think as a society rather than just individual to individual. And then I went through what I consider the greatest leadership training academy in the history of the planet, the United States Marine Corps officer programs, and became a Marine Corps officer. And that for me was about how do I lead people to do hard things? How do I help people and call out of people that heroism that's within them, right? How do we help ordinary people do extraordinary things? And so during my time in the Marine Corps, I got to both serve as a defense counsel, working to preserve people's rights and to make the system work the way that it's supposed to work. And then I also got to be a company commander and lead a group of Marines and sailors in all aspects of their daily lives and their work, which taught me so much more about leadership and so much more about the human element of it. And so when you hear, in my bio, we talk about, right, precision. Yes, we need systems that work, but we also have to remember that there's a quote that I just heard the other day that I love from Simon Sinek. It says, 100% of our customers are people. 100% of our employees are people. 100% of our investors are people. If you don't understand people, then you don't understand business. And it was that's the best way that I've ever heard it said. We have to be people-centered if we're trying to do great things.
Oh, so much of that resonates. Yeah, I too believe there is, there's something in us. There's a gift in all of us. We were all born with a gift to share. And I think it was Pablo Picasso who said, the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away.
Yes,
it's always been one of my favorites. And I love that you're like me. My career could be described as erratic. For me, every element has been an expansion and a learning and a being able to hone a skill that I couldn't hone where I was.
Yes,
so that I could be the best version of myself. And I love that the Simon Sinek. I didn't realize that was one of his quotes, but it made me smile because I was saying to a client just a couple of months ago, who was head in hands and was like, "Oh, Kim, it's just hard." And I was like, "Okay, talk to me about it." And he went, "Well, I've got business partners, people, I've got colleagues." And I went, "People," and I've got I was like, "People." I said, I've got a question. Even regulators are people. So what you've got is a people problem and an ability to connect with them. But while you give them all these different labels, you're pretending your problem is significantly greater than it needs to be. What it is, how do you dial up your emotional intelligence, your emotional connectivity, to be able to create partnerships that are going to drive the business forward, whether that's with your colleague, whether it's your client. And I love that kind of comes through in everything that you're doing. But could you tell me, like, what you kind of already brought some of this to life? So that turning point that that you needed to amend your path. But I also know that there was a turning point when you needed to also amend your definition of success.
Yes.
And for me, that I would love to learn more about that, because I think societally we are driving a compare and despair society on, and therefore success has to look like what everybody says it looks like. But how many people get there and tick the boxes, but they don't feel fulfilled? They don't.
Right. That part.
Bring that bit to life for me.
Yeah, no, it's a phenomenal question. And this was, again, during this journey, right? I was on my way and trying to check all the boxes and do all the things, right? I had been a defense counsel, and I was one of the winningest defense counsels in my office and in the history of our base at the time. So I got tapped for company command. And so now I'm commanding a group of Marines and sailors, and I'm in charge. And interestingly enough, none of the people that I was in charge of did jobs that were my job. I had no lawyers or no legal professionals or no legal people in my command. And so therefore I had to learn about everybody else's job, which wasn't right, which meant I had to be at work a lot longer than I had originally anticipated. So I'm doing 12, 13, 14-hour days. And I had promised my wife that this job was going to be easier than being a defense counsel, where I'm at the jail at night and I'm preparing for cases, and I'm always, I never know what's going on because everything is changing all the time. And I remember a couple of months in, and I'm struggling in the job, but I'm externally I'm successful, but I know that I'm struggling. And my wife taps me on the shoulder and she says, "Hey, I didn't get married to be a single parent." And I was like, "Ooh, but I'm working. I'm taking care of my Marines. I'm serving the country. Like, isn't this awesome?" She's like, "Yes, it's amazing, and I love you for it. And if you were in Afghanistan, if you were in Iraq, I could completely understand us not seeing you and not getting your time. But your office is less than 2 miles from our front door. So we need to see you more. You need to be more present, because even when you're home, you're not really home. Your mind is still at work. You're still thinking about these other things." And it was the first time that I had realized that my single-minded focus on professional success was actually costing me what I wanted personally, because I wanted to be a good husband and a good father. And I thought that I was providing and I was taking care of, but that wasn't sufficient. It was necessary, but it wasn't sufficient. And that really, it hit me because, like I said, I was struggling at work. I was doing decently, but I was still struggling. And now I'm realizing that I'm not doing well at home like I thought I was. And it was a moment where I had to really look into, what did success mean? And it was a soul searching moment. And it's a moment that I've seen in a lot of my clients afterwards. But I remember that time of just feeling like I'm doing what I think I should be doing. But number one, my wife's not happy. My children aren't happy. And if I was honest with myself, I wasn't really fulfilled because I felt like I was constantly having to balance
Yeah.
my work life and my home life. And it felt like a tug of war. Like each one demanded from me such that there was a zero sum game. If I gave more at work, then I had less to give at home. If I gave more at home, then I had less to give at work. And that just felt like an unwinnable fight. And that was the kind of planting of the seed, the turning point moment, if you would, of realizing that work-life balance is a myth, and that's not a worthy goal at all. And what I've now come to understand is the fact that we need to understand work-life harmony, right?
Yeah.
And to harmonize your life, right? Work-life balance, the reason why it doesn't work is because it has your parts of your life as if you're this disintegrated being, right? There's a TV show called Severance that kind of
Yeah.
perfectly articulates this, right? Where you have this side of you that is at work and this side of you that is at home, and never the twain shall meet. However, we don't exist like that in reality. We are one person. We are integrated. And what you do at work will impact what you do at home and vice versa. And so if you try to keep it balanced, you're constantly trying to pull yourself apart. And it's a fool's errand. It can't happen. And so what I learned was that harmony is synergistic, right? When you listen to music, the beauty of harmony is that the notes that are being played are one thing, but the harmony that comes from the interaction of those notes, that vibration, that hum, that resonance, is an additional feature where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And when you can harmonize your life, it's amazing that your work can then positively impact your home, and your home can positively impact your work in the community, and your work in the community can positively impact your work. And it becomes this virtuous cycle where you're constantly up leveling because you're present and you're successful and you're fulfilled in every moment.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's so true. I've not heard it described as work-life harmony, but I love that because that so pulls it together. For me, one of the challenges around work-life balance is you lose yourself in there, because it's like what's needed for work, what's needed for home, or what's needed for you, because you've got to serve both.
Exactly.
And that, when you're in that hamster wheel, is probably what I would call it.
Yes.
When you're in that hamster wheel, you forget you.
Yes. Yes.
You're failing in every direction, and
Exactly.
and
it's because of the fact, like you were saying, that you have this idea that there is you at work and you at home, and then there's a third you that's you not in those spaces. But it's all a myth. The reality is there's you, and there's you at work, and there's you at home, and all of those need to be taking care of you so that you can take care of others, right? It's the classic, when you get on an airplane, they say, if the cabin loses pressure and the mask fall down and you need to get oxygen, you grab the mask. Please put on your mask first before you try to help anybody else. But we continually go through the burnout method of leadership, where we try to help pour out all of ourselves to everybody else as if that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
We've been duped.
It so resonates, because I used to hear that about, put your own mask on first, and I never really got it, because I was like, I feel so selfish because I was in that whole space, until I had my little girl. And I suddenly realized, I looked at her one day and we're on a plane, and I suddenly got it, because I was like, if I put hers on first and I don't get mine on, she's not got a chance.
Exactly.
I thought that I was like, now I get
now it makes sense.
now
Exactly.
I have to prioritize some self-care to enable me to be able to better serve, to be able to have a more lasting impact, because that that's what we're trying to do. And as leaders, and I work a lot with leaders in this space. You've got big jobs, you've got big responsibility and accountability and responsibility, because people rely on you to be getting it right for their security, for their job, for their life, for their career, for their impact. So you carry the weight of that burden. But life doesn't always acknowledge that, does it? It doesn't go, you've got on, I tell you what, we'll make this part of your life go swimmingly. So you're kind of there, and you've got these big jobs, and you're kind of managing these big organizations, and then something goes horribly wrong in your personal life. That could be illness, it could be a death, it could be a divorce, it could be any of those things. But the expectation is that you leave that at the door, and you kind of continue to be magnanimously brilliant as a leader. And
exactly.
It's like, to your point, which you said so eloquently, it's like, you can't do that, because wherever you go, you go. You can't leave yourself at the door. I've tried.
Right. You take you everywhere you go. Yeah.
And because our emotional brain responds 24 times faster than our thinking brain, you can't switch that bit off. And so you have to be, and one of the words you've used a lot in this interview, and I love it, is be present. Because we've lost the art of being present. We're kind of there, and we're here in body, but we've got that mental to-do list that we're ticking off, and we've got the conversation we've just had and how that's made us feel, and we've got the screens that are going on. And I did a speech just a couple of weeks ago, and I say, can I just ask just one question? When was the last time you think you were truly present? And you saw the ripples. And so how do you, for those people listening and watching, how do you learn the art of being present?
Such a great question. I think to answer that question, I want to go back a little bit in what you were saying, because the feelings that are associated with everything happening and life not giving you the help that you need. I think that so much of it is we're conditioned to see things a certain way, right? And we have to recognize the agency that we have in how we process information. And so the analogy that I always give to it, right? Like, one person can see snow and think that snow is amazing. Like, I have a cousin that they love to snowboard, they instruct, they love skiing and being on the mountain and everything. I am not a snow fan. I love summer. I love the beach. I love warm weather. I am not a snow fan. Snow to me looks like work. It looks like shoveling. It looks like slogging through and people driving crazy and all these types of things. So when I see snow does not make me feel good, right? There's a couple of times when I'm inside in a warm house and I'm looking outside and it's beautiful that I can appreciate snow. But normally for me, snow says, and it creates that feeling for me. But for my cousin, snow is amazing. It's like, yay, snow is on the ground. How is it that two people can experience the same thing, but experience it differently? It has nothing to do with the external stimulus. It has to do with how we process that stimulus, the lens through which we look at it, right? And so the first thing that we have to do to be present is to be aware of how we're seeing the world. One of my mentors calls it noticing what you're noticing. Right? Because there are certain programs that we have running in our minds that tell us that certain things mean a certain thing, right? That being busy means this, that people coming and bothering you means this. Like so many leaders, and I always call it the resentful martyr syndrome, right? We get to the point where we have given up ourselves and laid down and sacrificed what we wanted for the good of the team so often that we kind of get to that mode where we're like, if one more person asks me to do one more thing, I swear I'm going to scream, right? Now, here's the funniest thing about that situation. This is where we want it to be. We want it to be the go-to person. We have worked our entire lives to have everybody look at us and say, oh, yes, Kim, she can definitely get it done. If I'm going to ask anybody to do it, I'm going to ask Kim. And then when we get there, we don't look at it with gratitude and with celebration that we are now in the space where everybody comes to us. It's a burden, right? But it's a burden because we are thinking that we can't say no, that we can't explain to them that I have other things to do, right? Because it's become part of our identity. So when you ask that question of how to be present, the first thing that we have to recognize is when the storm is happening, when things are moving, a lot of times we think that something's broken. We think that something's wrong with us. But the reality is we're just a little bit misaligned. And most of us are so used to being misaligned that we don't recognize that that's the problem. Right? It's like if you've ever driven a car that was out of alignment, right? When you're driving slowly, you don't even notice it, right? There's not a lot of extra work that you have to do. You're driving 10, 15 miles an hour. You got to turn anyway. You got to move the wheel. You don't even notice it's out of alignment. You start going about 25, 30 miles an hour and you start noticing it. The car just wants to tug to the right side of the road, and you got to tug it. You got to constantly pay attention to tug it back. You can't be as absent-minded as you would normally be when you're driving because you got to keep it in the center of the road. It's not until you try to go on the expressway, until you try to go a lot faster, that the car starts shaking and it starts rumbling and it feels like everything is going to go crazy, right? That's the friction point when you're actually trying to do a lot. That's when you recognize the problem, if you would. And for a lot of leaders, that's what happens in life. They get to the point where there's been a little bit of discomfort with the misalignment as they've been climbing the ladder and getting better. And then right when they get to the point where they get the job, they get the promotion, they get the company, whatever it is, that's when it feels like everything starts shaking and rattling and they think that the car is broken. They think that something's wrong with the engine or the transmission or the body or the frame. And the reality is you take it to the mechanic and you find out right after the 95-point inspection and you see that everything is good. They say, but your tires are just a couple of millimeters out of alignment. And once they fix that alignment, it's smooth sailing. You can drive 70, 80, 90 miles an hour for those lead foot people out there, right? And the car can stay in the middle of the road with ease. So the long-winded answer to your question is, how do we stay present? We have to be aligned. We have to start from first principles. Who are we? What is our purpose? And instead of each day looking at our to-do list as a have to-do list, we should have each day a get to-do list that affirms, that pours into who we are and what our purpose for being is. Now, I know you and your listeners are probably thinking, well, Robert, that sounds very easy. I'm going to tell you, no, it's not. Right? The devil is in the details. Yes, but there is a process. There's a way to do that. And it doesn't take as long as many people think that it does.
I love that. And so much, all of it resonates. And I love that, sometimes when we make a subtle shift on how we label something, the get to do instead of having the, I often say, instead of why me, try me. Because it's that growth element, but knowing first who are you, and what are you here to do? What's my purpose? What's my presence? Because once you know that gives you your own fuel, doesn't it? It gives you your own fuel when things get difficult, and I think it's kind of giving you that clarity and. I was chatting to a client just the other day, and he was telling me about and I was like, when you get there, how are you going to feel? How happy are you going to be? And like the huge amount of work that we're going to need to get there. And he went, well, probably about 25% happy. And I went, really? So I'm just going to leave that there for a moment. And he went, I see what you mean. And I said, well, I love a quote, and you can get them anywhere in life. I said, so I'm going to quote Colin Firth in Mamma Mia 2. And there is absolutely no point climbing to the top of the ladder if it's leaning against the wrong wall.
Yes.
And with that in mind, how do you help leaders to find clarity that the wall the ladder is rested on is the right wall for them?
Yes, no, that's a phenomenal question. I think that the key thing is understanding. So many of us are trying to see down the street and around the corner and up and down and over, right? And there's a reality that you're not going to be able to see every step of the journey.
Okay.
However, the beauty of it is you can see, right? If you're at the top of one mountain and you're planning to move to another mountain, you can see the top of that other mountain.
Yeah.
You can see where you're going, even if you don't know all of the twists and turns and the journey that you need to get there. You can see where you're going. And so what I do with my leaders and my clients is I help them to get back in tune with what their purpose is, why they're here, so that they can understand how to align everything that they do in their life with that purpose. That's something that so many of us feel like, and we've been conditioned to think that the definition of success and the definition of good is out there, that somebody else knows. And it makes sense, right? Ever since we were younger, when you were a child, definition of success was what your parents told you definition of success was. When you went to school, definition of success was what your teachers told you definition of success was. When you went to work, definition of success was what the corporate leaders told you definition of success was. And so many of us, when we climb the ladder and we get to what society has said success is, the muscles that we need to define success for ourselves have been atrophied from years of misuse. Right. And we haven't actually tapped into what we want because we've been told that that's selfish. We've been told that it's not about you. There's no I in team. Right. And so we've developed these personalities and these identities of, if I do something for me, then it is selfish. And one of the first things that I try to disabuse them of is the understanding and the knowledge that there is no such thing as quote unquote selflessness. There is. I think the neighbors are coming home.
To come home, Robert.
There we go. Perfect. I love it. I love it. My dog does the same thing. I'm like, he always acts like he's just so hard. And then as soon as somebody like opens the door, and he's like, oh, pet me, pet me, pet me.
He was exactly the same. And then through here in a minute, really proud of himself because he's protected me from the neighbors.
Exactly. I love it. But the key thing, when they're actually going through and we're trying to figure out what success actually means, we try not to be selfish. The problem is there's not a such thing as selflessness. You can take the most altruistic person that you can think of. If they're doing something, they're doing it because they think that it's the right thing to do, which reinforces their identity as a good person who does the right thing. They're not doing it. If they thought that they were horrible and that they were going to be, condemning the world to famine and panic, they wouldn't be doing these things, right? We wouldn't do things for others if we thought that they were hurting them selflessly. So any act that we do is actually selfish. So the question is, can you be selfish in an effective way, in an edifying way, in an enlightening and empowering way, or can you be selfish in the way that we think of selfishness normally, which is the jerk way, where you just take care of you and exploit everybody else, right? Yeah. But either way, we're going to be selfish. And the thing that I try to teach my leaders is, when you learn how to master taking care of yourself, you actually make the world better. When you are in alignment with your purpose, when you walk in alignment with your purpose, like you said with the Pablo Picasso quote, right? Our job or our duty is to figure out our purpose. That is what we are here for. Is to figure out what we are here for, because that maximizes our time here, because then we can spend the rest of our time giving our genius away, helping the world with our genius. But the way that it works is a little bit shifted. And I usually like to use an analogy. A lot of people in business drink coffee. I'm a tea drinker myself, but there's a lot of people that I deal with, especially in the Marine Corps. Coffee was a thing, right? So this analogy normally works pretty well. When you drink coffee, everybody knows you pour coffee out of the coffee pot, and then whoever goes back and doesn't refill the coffee pot, the last coffee pot drinker that doesn't refill the coffee pot becomes a pariah in the office, right? And the reason why is because everybody knows that if there's no coffee in the pot, when I go to get coffee, I can't get any coffee, right? But interestingly enough, when we as leaders generally try to help others, how do we do it? We pour out of ourselves into other people and pour and pour and pour and pour and pour and pour and pour. And then we empty. And then we need a sabbatical. Then we need a job change. Then we need a life change. Then we need a refresher of vacation or whatever the case may be. And while we're doing whatever that is, figuring out how to get from being empty, everybody that we were serving is without until we come back. Right.
Yeah.
And the problem with it is, number one, it's a scarcity model. We actually get more and more burned out, more and more tired, the more and more we give. So there's a negative reinforcement that happens that says giving is draining. Giving takes away from me. Giving is unsustainable, right? But more importantly, it also teaches everybody that we give to that the way that you give is that you pour out of yourself into others. And so it cascades, and you see this cycle of leadership happen in organizations where the boss will stay and then the one under them will stay until they leave. And so they stay an extra hour, and the one under them will stay until they leave. So they stay an extra hour. And then the person at the bottom of the totem pole is there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, just trying to demonstrate that they care just as much as the people at the top. And it's like, no, that's the burnout method of leadership. But what I like to teach my clients about is an abundance model, right? If you've ever seen a champagne fountain, right, where you've got the glass at the top and you've got 4 glasses underneath, and then another layer and another layer and another layer. One of the most interesting things about it is you pour into that first glass, it doesn't start pouring into any other glasses until it's what? Full. And then it pours into those other glasses from its
overflow, from
its abundance. That's the first thing, right? If you are full, you can continue to give to others continually because you can give from your abundance. I don't have to lose for you to gain because I'm already full and I stay full, right? But here's where it's even more amazing. How does the second layer of glasses, once they get full, what have they learned to do?
To overflow with abundance to the next layer and the next layer.
Exactly. And so the training, the idea is that your pouring from your abundance not only impacts you, it not only impacts the people that you serve, it trains the people that you serve that there is a different way to give, that they can give too from their abundance, because you've demonstrated what I like to call the good kind of selfishness, the selfishness that edifies, that empowers, right? And over time, when you learn how to do this as a leader, the impact is exponentially greater.
I love that. Well, great analogy as well, because it kind of helps you see it. And I go back to something you said earlier, where they say there's no I in team. One of the things I always say to my team is there's no I in team. If you look really hard, there's a me. Make sure in your desire to do the other, because you to be there first. If not, team becomes a gap.
It's
like,
that's it.
And so kind of helping them understand, and the whole totally resonated with the you stay late and then everyone else stays later, and sometimes as that leader you need to do those. But one of the things I did years ago was go, I might need to do that to get my work done, but I didn't send it. Nobody needs to see. I could go and do that somewhere else. What I don't do is create that culture that everybody else has to do the same thing.
I remember I used to, and I learned this when I was a company commander, because I would be at work and I'm staying till 4:30, 5 o'clock because I'm just in case things. But I would notice that my Marines would be in the office and they would not have anything to do, but they would still be there. And they were still there, of course, because I was still there. And that was the way. And so I used to make it a point, because I knew their schedules. I knew what everything looked like. I would make it a point to go out to the office. Hey, what you working on? Oh, nothing. I'm just, trying to get, well, are you ahead on all your work? Yep. All right, go home. What do you mean, sir? I'm like, go home. I'm going to need you to stay late sometime in the future. But right now, if you don't have anything to do, go home. Go hang out with your kids. Go enjoy your family. I know that I'm going to need to ask you to stay late, but I don't want you to feel like you just have to be here to be here. The whole idea is take care of you so that when we need you, we have you. Right.
Yeah.
And that experience, like you could see the light in their eyes, and it was a paradigm shift because, right, so many people are used to just doing what you do just because that's what you do, and not ever thinking about it from the perspective of how do I get done what I need to get done so that I can do what I want to do. And we as leaders have the ability to demonstrate that. And I love the way that Marianne Williamson talks about it, right? When she talks about us shining our lights. When you shine your light, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. When you're liberated from your fears, your presence automatically liberates others. When we're able to be present, to not be worried about not performing, not be worried about all the things, because we know that we're capable. Here's the funny thing. Especially my clients, because I normally deal with high achiever, right? People who are successful externally, but are struggling because they're stuck, because they're unfulfilled personally, even though, and they feel like there's that battle between, well, if I keep doing this, it's unsustainable, but I can't just quit doing this and do this because this won't make me happy either, right? It's 35% more happy, not fulfilled. And they don't understand how to do the both. And the funny thing that winds up happening is for those people, they struggle to really grasp that you can do both. You can be in both spaces. You can have professional success and personal success. And the way that you do it is by making sure that they're aligned from the beginning instead of trying to figure out how to align them after the fact.
I love that. And that so resonates because I think we deal with similar kind of clients, and it's that piece that's going, it's not an either or.
Yeah.
It's not an either or. It's a little bit like, when people say, well, you're either glass half empty or glass half full. I'm like, it's a glass, fill it back up.
Yes.
So it's never made any sense to me. It's a glass.
Right.
Doesn't matter where those bits fit, but I love that actually what you're helping people do is to find out the fact that this is not a trade-off.
Yes.
This is clarity and alignment. This is
exactly
to purpose, and allowing you to recognize that it's not a race.
Right. And something, one other thing that on that point is that oftentimes they'll get into a situation where they feel like, I know that I can do whatever I put my mind to. We've gotten to this point where we're successful and we know that we can do the hard things, if you would. And then the next question comes to us, which stumps everybody, which is, so what should I be doing with my time? And we don't know how to answer that oftentimes because, again, those muscles have atrophied. We haven't connected to our purpose. We've been looking for our purpose externally. We've been looking for someone to tell us who we are or what we're supposed to do or why we're here, instead of realizing that seed was implanted in you from the beginning, that greatness is inside of you. And that the key thing, going back to your original question of being present is all about being in alignment with the purpose for why you're being here. And that way it allows you, whatever you're doing, if you're thinking about the future, if you're thinking about the present, if you're moving, however you're doing it, if you're in alignment with your purpose, you're always right where you need to be, doing right what you need to be doing.
Oh, Robert, I love that. I could literally chat to you all day, but I realized before I let you go, because you've earned it, could you share with the people listening and watching, how do they get in touch with you and who do you help?
Yes. So the first thing, how do you get in touch with me? As long as you have my name, you can get in touch with me because my website is just robertheathsr.com, and you can come and get and find out about a lot of the things that we're doing. Robert Heath Sr. That's a SR, not the full senior. robertheathsr.com. And one of the things that I like to do, because I help leaders and what I like to call my clients are legacy builders, right? People who feel like they have a calling, that there's something more that they're here for. They know that they've been blessed with skills. They know that they've been blessed with abilities. They know that they've been successful so far to the world, but they still feel that tugging. They feel that calling for more, and they're trying to reconcile it because they feel stuck where they are. If you're having that issue, one of the things that I do, and I'd like to offer it for your listeners as well, is to get on a call with me. We call it a clarity call, right? Where you can find out what are the next steps? What are the next things that you're doing? And for a lot of my clients, it's not that they don't know, quote unquote, what they should be doing. It's that they don't know why they're not doing it. They don't know what the obstacle is. There's a blind spot that they have. And on our clarity calls, one of the things we do is to help you to figure out that blind spot and figure out some next steps to overcome it. And one of the other things that I would recommend is defining success is the first step of everything that I do. Until we know where we're going, how to get there doesn't matter, right? And so something that we've created is a defining success clarity tool that that I think my team is sent over, and we can put in the show notes for everybody to get. And it's a tool to help you really start asking a lot of those questions, to start building a lot of those muscles that we talked about what success means to you, not to your mom, not to your husband or wife or spouse or children or your community or your office or your business. But what does success mean for you? In your heart, what resonates with you? That's something that I want to give away to your listeners. I think that'll be really helpful for them. And then we can talk if they have any questions.
Oh, Robert, that's amazing. Thank you so very much. And for anybody listening and watching that didn't have time to scribble all that down, please don't worry. It will be just below in the show notes. Robert, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight, your inspiration, and your strategies for us to realign with purpose.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And at the end of the day, I want to remind everybody that you are here for a reason. You have greatness within you, and live every day on purpose and in alignment with your purpose so you can manifest your greatness.
Amazing. Who can top that? So for everybody listening and watching, I hope you really take that on board and that you move forward with purpose and with intention. And until next time, take care.